Hi, I'm Troy McGuinness, and I'm proud to introduce an open source tool called IssueTriage. What it helps you do is implement an AI-first prioritization of product development work and make items ready for AI coding assistance. First of all, I want to discuss what factors make delivery hard to predict now. Now, often in a lot of projects of product development, there's multiple team handoffs between those teams. Not one team doesn't do the whole piece of work. There are dependencies. And this can make it incredibly difficult for the teams to predict how long it's going to take beginning to end, because we don't know how long it's going to spend in those gaps between each team doing the work. There's often an amount of first timeness in a feature and technology, how novel it is. If no one in the world has ever done it before, then you should expect that it's going to have there's some things you've got to learn to get it delivered. It's going to make it hard to predict. And sometimes what we're building is built on a fragile back end, a lot of tech debt, an area of code that doesn't have any tests in it. So we have to spend a lot more time that's hard to estimate to understand not just the new feature work that we haven't broken anything in the existing product. And teams often struggle to consider these, which makes it very difficult up front to look at any issue, any idea, and understand how long it's going to take to deliver. So why do we need this prioritization and portfolio planning step of forecasting to begin with? Well, it's because at the moment we have limited capacity. We have limited time. Often there's a deadline that we need to hit for a Christmas sale or a Black Friday sale. And often we have inside our organization, we've encapsulated expert knowledge in certain groups and teams, and they're limited, so they become a constraint, and we can't do two things that require those same experts at the same time. But what if that wasn't true anymore? What if capacity wasn't a constraint? Would we approach prioritization differently? Well, I think we would. We, of course, would do the most customer impacting valuable work first. And if we didn't have any constraints on resourcing, we would do everything that we could, possibly start them all at once. I'm not suggesting that, but saying it's getting more possible. And it becomes down to the reason we shouldn't do things, not what we can do, what we shouldn't do without manual intervention. If it's got a safety exposure, like it's the amount of radiation in a cancer treatment scenario. This is a random example, but if something is safety oriented, we want more eyes on it. We want to do it slowly. We want to do it carefully. If an issue could open up or has a security exposure that we need to consider, if the feature involves private medical or confidential information, we might want to not have AI prioritize doing that without really good review and without really good requirements. So what ends up happening is two things being otherwise equal, how do we pick which one we're going to do, or which 10 we're going to start? Well, we know that the things which are going to be most suitable for AI coding agents to do is work that's well understood, work that doesn't require handing off to a lot of teams, work that's similar to work that we've done before, so there's good patterns and exemplars in the code, and code in areas that is building on a set of code base with a lot of tests that has low technical debt. And I think currently we blend value and effort based on constraints. But in the future, I think we're going to blend value and risk factors. Some of those are what I've listed there. So AI changes things. AI changes that the human coding is optional. And really our prioritization is choosing which bits require a human and which bits can be done with AI. Because there's a lot of backlog items that are well understood, that code across a stack, that AI is equally good at front-end and back-end coding, and that the AI has good examples and coding rules for prior work patterns that we know is going to give a good outcome. So we want to do the highest business value thing first that is ready and appropriate for AI automation. And I look at it in this way, is that we have a matrix where business value from low to high on the y-axis and AI automation readiness on the x-axis. Low readiness on the left, good readiness on the right. And if we had AI assess our issues and place them in this matrix, we can see that some are more ready for AI than others. They're more simple and well understood, and some have higher business value, and some are not ready for AI automation just yet. And that's what IssueTriage, the add-in we've created, is for. What it helps you do is understand whether issues in GitHub and Jira are ready for handing off to AI automation, ready and appropriate. And it does this by sort of using AI to assess readiness and business value on your behalf based on the whole GitHub issue comment stream. And what it does is it comes up with a composite score across requirements, complexity, security, and business value. And it decides where to place them on that matrix, understanding the blend of these factors. So the goal is to not hand off to AI coding tools until the requirements are known. This isn't planning. This isn't using how it's going to be implemented. This is just assessing what we want to be implemented and its business value and readiness. Now, when it comes up with a score that isn't ready for AI automation, it challenges you with these pre-implementation questions. Now, again, these aren't coding requirements. These are requirements for the feature, what we want implemented, not how we want it implemented. So when we enter in the values for these questions, it gets stored in the GitHub comment stream so that when it does get handed off to AI, AI has a full history of all the questions and answers. Now, this solved my problem. What was happening was I was having dozens and dozens of little requirement markdown files in my project, but they weren't being kept up to date. So as I made a change, as I was doing the coding in AI, I lost track of the decisions. So the spec started deviating from actual. Well, we want to make the GitHub issue the source of truth for both the final solution of the code as well as the question and answers that came up along the way. Now, that's for open items. When items get closed, what the IssueTriage add-on does is it goes and looks at the solution inside the GitHub code base, and it comes up with a risk intelligence score for the summary of what it tried to implement. So it gives it keywords and it gives it a summary. And what it looks at is key risk signals that this was hard to do, this was hard to code. The number of linked commits, if there were multiple commits, the number of files touched, the number of lines changed, the number of pull requests or code or comments added once it was started. And it comes up with a risk score, low, medium, and high, and a numerical score, and the top drivers of that. Now, this means that when we add new issues to the GitHub backlog that are open, we use this risk score to understand the risk of future work, how hard it's going to be to implement. So even if we get it wrong on the first run through and we say it's automation ready, but then we struggle to automate it, our risk score means next time we're less likely to make that same mistake. So yeah, this post-risk analysis, once we've done it and once we've linked items to it, it comes up with a full risk score that's used in the future. And all this is stored in the GitHub comment history. So nothing is missed, all the risk is sort of captured and so forth. And when we're ready, when we get the automation is ready and there's no more clarifications, we can assign it to Codex, Claude, Copilot, Cursor, etc. And what we get at the end of the day is a generated machine learning data set. And this is future work for us in this sort of open source project. So we're hoping that you will come along. But we generate a full JSON history of all of the initial idea, the questions, the summary of it, the keywords for it, and also the change and churn that we had with that change, so that a machine learning model can learn to better predict, given future issues, how ready it is for AI automation and what the challenges are likely to be. It's going to help us choose and understand which backlog items are ready for AI automation and help us sort of code them. So with that, visit our open source add-in project on GitHub, and you can sort of see all of the code. We have built a Visual Studio Code add-in and a Cursor add-in, so you can just search for those and include them in. You can email Troy, myself, or Chris, my partner in this, to give us any feedback that you want. But understand our goal. Our goal is to help find which issues are ready for AI automation coding quickly and efficiently, and learn which areas of the code and which types of issues cause us the most trouble. With that, thank you.